নমস্কার, আপনারা দেখছেন চ্যানেল 10। আমি আপনাদের সঙ্গে রয়েছি অর্ক দুতি। আমাদের সঙ্গে আজকে একজন বিশিষ্ট গেস্ট রয়েছেন। তার পরিচয়টা হচ্ছেন তিনি জেমি এডওয়ার্ডস। তিনি একজন মেন্টাল ট্রেনার, বলা ভালো পিক পারফরম্যান্স কোচ। জেমি, ওয়েলকাম টু চ্যানেল 10.
Thank you.
My first question, that is from NBA to peak performance coach. How was it possible?
Well, I learned, I didn't actually play basketball in the NBA, but what I did was I learned the skills, the mental skills of what an NBA player. They just had not only technique, but they had mental training as well. And I got curious why it was that two people from one side of the town had the same ability, same technique. One made it, one didn't make it. And that usually came down to how they were thinking. And the same applies not just in the business world. Today we've been doing some training for one of the major employers of India. But the same applies in life, business, and in sports.
I have gone through your website and I have heard a little something about your trained brain. Mm-hmm. What is it exactly?
Well, Trained Brain is a consultancy for sportsmen. That's its heritage. So working with a sportsman who wants to go to a different level, and they're very good athletically, their body's trained, their technique is trained, but what they haven't trained is they haven't trained this. And so the heritage was developing sports minds, and then the business world was saying, actually, I like how he handles pressure. So maybe I could use that in the boardroom. Maybe I could use that for my sales team. And so we also train the minds of business executives as well.
And what is exactly that peak performance coaching?
What is it? It's peak performance coaching is all about helping somebody think differently. So even if they've had a really good season, so IPL champions this year, they had a really good season.
And what is exactly that mental training and brain training? What is the main difference between these two?
No, they're the same. They're the same, mental and brain. Psychology, you could wrap it up in the word psychology, but I never use that word because it scares people. People think swinging watch, or is he a man in a white coat? It's not something that you should be afraid of. It's not something that you should add it. So if you train your technique, if a cricketer trains his technique and he trains his body, then he should be doing mental training just like he does physical training.
Then you want to say there is mental training and physical training. Both are too much important for a player, for a cricketer, for a footballer, or any athlete for his or her own success. So how can you differentiate between mental training and physical training? Because as you said that both are important for them. How can you differentiate this one?
Well, you make the difference depending on the time of a season.
How could he come out of that mental stress, from that mental depression?
Well, that's a description, because some tools and some ideas, some very practical tools, not theory. When you're in the heat of an IPL match or a big football match in Calcutta, you don't need theory. What you need is something that you can do in the moment. So Freddie was, again, it was lots of pressure, and so we needed to look at immediately. We looked at his body language, because that was what was the message that was being given to the Australians. So we looked at his body language. We looked at how he was replaying in his mind. I said, this screen is like a movie screen. Yeah, and what's on there will make you think something. Horror film, make you scared. Comedy, make you laugh. And so we changed the movies that were playing in his head. You change the movies in your head, you change how you feel. And just some small changes had a massive impact on his performance.
Little children mainly, because they are the birds of future establishment, future. They are going to make our society much more colorful in future. So what kind of helps, what kind of cooperation they can get from Jamie?
Well, from young people, I'm very passionate about. I was a young person, and somebody took an interest in how I was thinking, and he said, difference between you and the next person is not talent or ability, and the same applies in sports as it does in life. So I want to give back. I do give back. I do a lot of work in education back in the UK. My personal mission is to make sure as many young people under the age of 25, they get some type of peak performance mental training before they get into the corporate world. So most people only get this type of training if they're in the corporate, in the business world, or if they're fortunate in their sports team. But my goal is to make sure as many people, young people, now here in India, as many young people under the age of 25, they get some type of peak performance training. And not just for the corporate world, but for their exams as well. Yeah.
As you have mentioned corporate world, then I must ask you one question. That is, you have worked with BMW, you have worked with Red Bull, some renowned companies you have worked with. So what was the reply from that end? Did they get satisfied?
Yes, definitely. They were satisfied. Most of these companies and executives, they understand the world of sports. They watch football, they watch golf, they play cricket, they play tennis. So they understand that sports is unforgiving. Yeah, there's pressure, there's a winner, there's a loser. And the winners have certain ingredients to make them successful. And so they want that to translate into the boardroom, into their senior management team, so that it filters down to the people who really make things happen. So, yes, for many years I worked with Red Bull in Europe, with BMW with sales teams, Audi sales teams, for Ministry of Defense, government divisions. So this is, in sports, it's peak performance training. In the business world, leadership development. This is what Akus is bringing me to India, so we can bring the two together.
How it is possible for you, for a trainer mainly, to provide training to a sportsman, to a sports personality, as well as a corporate personality? And another question, that is, how can you provide training with people? I want to say that is, when one man is there, it's easy for you to provide training. But when there are a lot of people, million of people together, then how can you prepare yourself for providing training to them?
Okay, well, the difference for me, people always ask me, do I enjoy one-to-one coaching? I love coaching one-to-one because we can really get into what's driving you, what's making you go to the next level. So I love coaching one-to-one. And then, like today, we've had 40, 50 people from
everyone wants to be the best. That's why they don't want the other people to be coached by you.
Well, I think the challenge is, if you want to be coached by me personally, then that's different again. Yes, but in the group, the company sends their team, they send their executives, and in a group setting, this is more an intimate group, but then we can do big groups as well. But this is an intimate group. So the difference for sports, going back to your question, what's the difference between a sports person and a business person? There is no difference. Both have brains, both want to be the best, both want to go to another level. The principles are the same. Whereas performance coaching is what it says, performance. It's about doing something. It's about practical and applicable. How can we use it today? If we can't use it today, it's of no use. It's not something that we can study right in the moment. We need, Flintoff, in the heat of the ashes, he doesn't need a book. He doesn't need a graph. He doesn't need a chart. He needs a technique or a tool He needs something in his cricket kit bag. Feeling pressure, there's a tool. Want to go to the next level, there's a tool. Yes, that's what he wants. He wants the remote control to his TV screen. He's not watching a good movie, change the channel. That's what he wants. He wants something that he can do. And that's what every cricketer, every young person, every business person, it's a slight shift in mindset. And I think, today, whether it's, what we can provide for young people, like ACUS is going to provide for young people, or in the business world, everybody has a brain, and it's how we train it to go to the different level. Anger is a useful emotion in the right place, at the right time, and with the right people. But in the wrong place at the wrong time, it's not useful. So I've seen cricketers, I've seen footballers do this all the time. They've no idea of what state they need to be in. But when they're coached state, they can take the remote control and they can turn it down, just like you turn the volume down on a radio.
My last question, that is, how, as a mental trainer or as a peak performance coach, how do you define performance anxiety?
There's a phrase for it. It's called choking. Yes, it's called choking. It's when the mind and body are not working together. You've heard of flow. Yes, when you're in the flow or you're in the zone, both are in sync. Yes, you're at one. Performance anxiety is when the mind is racing, the physiology, the breathing stops, it quickens up, tension. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm in my head, yes? But when somebody's at their best, they're relaxed, they're calm. Calm is the foundation of peak performance. So it's the contrast. How do I train myself for my body to be relaxed in the heat of the moment? And how do I slow my mind down? And the quickest way to do this is through breathing. Something that we've been coaching to the leadership team today. Because again, the same principles apply. Calm is the foundation for peak performance in sports and in business. It leads to clarity.
Thank you, Jamie. আমরা এখন কথা বলছিলাম জেমি এডওয়ার্ডসের সঙ্গে। তিনি কিন্তু অনেক অজানা তথ্য আমাদের জানালেন, যা কিন্তু আমাদের ভবিষ্যতে এগিয়ে যাওয়ার জন্য বেশ কার্যকরী। এই এতক্ষণের যে সময় আমরা কাটালাম জেমির সঙ্গে, সেখান থেকে কিন্তু আপনারা কতটা উপকৃত হতে পারলেন সেটা তো অবশ্যই আমাদের একটা আলোচনা। যদি আপনারা উপকৃত হয়ে থাকেন তাহলে সেটা আমাদের এই প্রোগ্রামের সার্থকতা। আর জেমি কিন্তু আরো একটা কথা বলে শেষ করলেন, সেটা হচ্ছে সার্থকতা এবং সাফল্যের প্রধান অঙ্গ হচ্ছে, প্রধান কাণ্ডারি কিন্তু শান্ত থাকা। শান্ত থাকুন এবং দেখতে থাকুন চ্যানেল 10, সঙ্গে রাখুন চ্যানেল 10।